Hey guys, it's Jade and welcome back to another video on my channel. So as you guys know, I got married this June and I didn't actually post a ton about my wedding planning process on this YouTube page, but I did create like pretty much an entire TikTok page that was all just my wedding planning journey and wedding planning tips and tricks. As a girl who has dreamed about her wedding her entire life, this was such a special occasion. Also just truly because of the symbolism and beauty of what you're doing when you're getting married to the love of your life. But as I'm sure you guys are more than aware, the wedding industry is a little bit wild these days, and I know that I was so quickly discouraged by how expensive everything it was when it came to wedding planning. And being a full-time college student at the time, and obviously not being someone who was just rolling in it, I needed to find a way to do things quickly, affordably, and in a way that I love. So here are my top 10 best wedding planning tips for my entire journey of planning an affordable dream wedding. Okay, so my first tip for you guys may seem a little bit basic, but it is to DIY as much as you can. Now, I will preface this by saying, for me, I'm a big crafty natured person. So for me, doing DIYs is fun. It makes me feel involved in my wedding planning process. I love using that as an outlet to save money. But I will say, I will put this preface in there, if DIYing and crafting is something that stresses you out, I would very much try and stay away from DIYs, because at the end of the day, the thing that matters the most is your experience planning your wedding. If DIYing a whole bunch of stuff is just gonna stress you out and ruin your entire season of engagement, it's just not worth it. But for me, DIYing is one of the best ways that I actually saved money on my wedding, but also had my dream wedding. I was able to have my dream wedding florals because I actually chose to DIY all of my own flowers. I also was able to have special personalized touches on my wedding invitations, custom wedding cornhole boards, all because I chose to just put a little bit of effort in and figure out how to do it myself. None of the DIYs I did honestly were that complex. I am not honestly that artistic natured of a person. So again, go to that TikTok page because I have like all kinds of videos where I literally show you exactly how to do every single DIY that I did for my wedding day. But I found that when I actually went through my wedding day, not only did I love that obviously I had these custom details that I was able to save so much money on, but it also made me feel even more connected to like the decor and the aesthetic of my wedding day. Obviously, that is not the most important part of your wedding day. I'm just explaining my reasoning here, but because I actually put my own personal blood, sweat, tears, and creative juices into so much of my wedding day, it just made the actual venue and event feel so much more, I don't know, special and unique to me. My next tip for you guys is to not spend an arm and a leg on your wedding dress, veil, and shoes. I feel like this is honestly gonna be kind of like a hot take opinion because your wedding dress is a huge part of your wedding day. And I know for a lot of girls, it's honestly probably the part of your wedding day you dream about the most. Of course, everyone is allowed to care about and emphasize different things that are important to them on their wedding day. But for me, obviously I wanted my dream dress. I wanted to feel like a princess, but I absolutely didn't have it in my budget, nor did I even want to spend thousands of dollars on a wedding dress. I actually had my dress, veil, and shoes all total under $1,000, and I still feel like I had my dream wedding look. I looked exactly like how I wanted to, and my wedding dress is gonna be special to me for years to come. There are more affordable dress shops out there than you realize. You really just have to do your research. And one tip I have for you guys is before you even make appointments at different dress shops that you come across, go to their like FAQ section of their website and see what their minimum dress price is. There were so many places that I loved so many of their dresses online, and so I went to go and make an appointment thinking that maybe it would be a little bit more affordable, and realized that their minimum dress price was $1,200 or $1,500. Most of the time, these stores will actually be pretty upfront with what their minimum dress price is so that people don't make appointments and waste money, because those dress appointments usually do cost a little bit of money going when it's honestly not in their budget at all. For me, I really did have the goal to stay under $1,200, and I ended up staying under $1,000. And those places do exist, you just have to be diligent about finding them. I ended up getting my wedding dress from Vowed. They are like a chain wedding dress store that I think are in several different cities. I personally got mine from Vowed Nashville. So if you live near a Vowed, check her out. My third tip to have an affordable dream wedding is non-traditional catering. We actually ended up catering fazoli's for our wedding. Honestly, I knew that Italian would be a great choice for me at my wedding. That is something that me and my husband both love. It's also super easy for catering a large wedding. And so we kind of already had that in the back of our minds, but fazoli's was such a great choice. I honestly think that was the biggest money saver of my entire wedding. What I got quoted for 150 to 200 people for my wedding from Fazoli's was a quarter of the cheapest catering quote I got from like a traditional wedding caterer. My wedding catering for 150 to 200 people was a little bit over $1,000, which is unreal. if you know anything about the wedding catering industry. Now, I'm not saying anything about wedding catering. They do absolutely incredible food spreads, and if you are a person who cares a ton about what meal you're serving at your wedding day, maybe it does make more sense for you to invest money in a traditional caterer. But for us, honestly, we just wanted a good hot meal to serve to our guests that everyone was gonna enjoy. We really didn't care what it was or where it came from. And honestly, we were so impressed with Fazoli's. They set it all up, it came hot, it was ready, they had a surplus, they had extra food, people had plenty of room for seconds. They also, it was buffet style, but they served all the food to the guests as they went through the line. We had multiple different types of pastas. We had gluten-free options, we had vegetarian options, we had multiple salads with different dressings and customization options. And of course, we had the dang Fazoli's breadsticks, which are literally the greatest things ever. And honestly, there wasn't really Fazoli's branding on anything because we did choose to use our own like plates, cups, things like that. And so if you were a little bit worried about people knowing that you catered Fazoli's, even though there is nothing wrong with that at all, honestly, there's not branding on anything. So other than the fact that we told everybody, no one would have even known that it was Fazoli's and not Olive Garden. On top of that, for food, another big way that we saved money was actually DIYing our own cocktail hour food. So obviously cocktail hour food and appetizers and things like that are such a fun part of your wedding day and an important part of your wedding day to keep your guests fed and happy, but also can be a really big expense. So for us, we actually did DIY charcuterie cups. I have multiple videos on my TikTok page breaking down exactly how we made those. And we also did little veggie cups, and this was such a hit at our wedding. Not only were they so tasty and had such great things in both cups, they were also easy to grab and go and sanitary, because those big charcuterie board tables, it's like, I don't know, as a nurse, it's like just the germs of that, I wasn't for it. We got all of our ingredients for our charcuterie cups and veggies cups from like Costco and Sam's Club. And for dessert, we did a cake actually that we got custom made at Publix, and it was literally perfect my vision. It was just a small cake for me and my husband to do like the cake cutting and have a share a piece cake, all the cute little traditional things. But for dessert, actually for our guests, we did little mini brownies and mini cookies. This was still a great dessert. A lot of people ate up a lot of these desserts. Honestly, after all of the different food when you're at a wedding, a lot of times the dessert is the thing that doesn't get eaten. So I was really happy that we did not spend an arm and a leg on trying to get a wedding cake that was gonna feed everybody. Number 4, and this is just my personal opinion, I also think one of the biggest parts of wedding planning, the thing you need to do first, honestly, is sit down and figure out what your priorities are. But in my opinion, the thing, especially when you are past the wedding day and you're looking back, the thing you will cherish the most is photography and videography. So for me, as you guys know, I was trying to do everything budget friendly and save money literally in every way I could. However, I did not save money or like try to go the affordable route when it came to photography. I'm very picky on my style. I also know exactly what my vision was for my wedding day, and I'm also a person, as someone who scrapbooks and does social media and all of these things, photos and videos are so important to me, and I am so incredibly thankful that I did not skimp out on my photographer or my videographer. Honestly, the videography was a decision we kind of came to later, and we did end up going with like a friend of ours, so it was a little bit more affordable for us. I did not 100% know if I was gonna do video or not. Now I'm really thankful we did, because it is something I cherish a ton. But specifically photos, it was honestly one of the first vendors that I booked, and I remember having a little moment of like, oh my gosh, did I spend too much money on this? Like, was that the right decision? But after we got those thousands of photos back on our gallery and I was able to relive our wedding day every single day, or just remember all of those raw, organic, documentary style moments, I absolutely knew it was worth every penny. And honestly, on wedding day, I knew it was every single penny. She was such a professional. She honestly was like the leader of the day, making sure that everything stayed on schedule. Every photo that we needed to get was taken, but also it never interrupted me and my husband's organic flow of experiencing our wedding day. She was so professional, she was so on top of it. We got an amazing, very large sneak peek gallery within 24 hours of the wedding day. And truly, that was just absolutely the best use of money, honestly, on my whole wedding day, because the real thing that you keep after your wedding day is the photos. So just coming from me and my personal experience, if you're gonna splurge on one thing, splurge on the photography, because also how your photographer chooses to photograph your wedding day will also greatly impact what the aesthetic kind of translates as for years to come. Because you can have the most beautiful, elaborate wedding decor ever, but if your photographer can't capture it in the way that you're envisioning it, you're not gonna have those tangible memories to hold on to in a photo that you're wanting. Number 5, something that I was really thankful I did for saving money, but also just for multiple reasons, doing my own makeup. I did have someone do my hair. I am literally not a person who can do my hair at all. I honestly am a person who actually enjoys the way that I do my makeup. I'm definitely not a professional by any standard, but I honestly knew pretty early on that I wanted to do my own makeup for my wedding day. I had a couple reasons for that. Number 1, to save money. It's just another way to save a few $100s on your wedding day. But number 2, I really wanted to look and feel like myself on my wedding day. Now, of course, I wanted to absolutely like have the greatest makeup look of my entire life on this day. And I definitely was wearing more makeup than like I am right now or on the everyday basis. And I definitely spent many months like trying out different products and making sure that I found the perfect routine for my wedding day. But I was just so thankful that I did it myself because I feel like I looked beautiful, but I 100% felt like myself and felt so comfortable in my skin the whole day. And honestly, like the stress is so high kind of right at that point that you're getting your hair and makeup done on your wedding day, because it's like one of the last things you do before you obviously see each other. You walk down the aisle, you start taking pictures. And so for me, it was actually really therapeutic doing my own makeup. Again, this can go different ways for different people. If that's gonna be something that stresses you out, maybe don't make that choice. But for me, it actually was something that really, I don't know, it just gave me an activity, a thing to do to just calm my nerves. And there was just something really special about feeling like I was getting myself ready as a bride. I don't know, I had a lot of emotions going in through my head during that moment. It was this moment of like peace and quiet for just myself that was just honestly like one of my favorite private moments of the whole day. My wedding morning was truly so perfect and amazing, and I'm so incredibly thankful for it. And one of the memories and the moments that I cherish the most is actually when I was sitting down to get myself ready, because I did a lot of reflection in that time. Number 6, one of the best things I did right at the beginning of my wedding planning process was make myself a comprehensive to-do list, literally down to like the tiniest, nitty-grittiest little thing that I would need to do for wedding planning, broken up month by month. I had about an 10 month engagement. And again, during that time, I was also a full-time college student in my senior year of college. We also were like in the process of like trying to buy and build a home. Like we had a lot going on. And so honestly, when I remember when we first got engaged, as much as I was so excited to wedding plan, it also had this moment where I just got so overwhelmed and stressed out. And it was so therapeutic for me in that moment, but also ended up being something that I used all 10 months of wedding planning. I sat down and made this really big comprehensive to-do list. Again, I'm not trying to be like that and just keep shouting out TikTok, but I do have that whole to-do list. I like made a 4-part video series where I read out everything on the list so that you guys could literally just copy my to-do list if you want to. But that wedding planning to-do list, kept me on track, but it also divided the tasks up evenly between all of the 10-11 months of wedding planning. So I wasn't scrambling at the end to try and get things done, or I wasn't over stressing myself out for the first 6 months trying to do everything when really I had more time than I realized to do things. It also was just my place where I just brain dumped every little thing I was worried that I was gonna forget to do. And I knew even if that task wasn't done yet, if it was on the to-do list, it was gonna be done because I had that reminder. When I was writing my little to-do list in September of 2023 for what I was gonna be doing in June of 2024, I knew that that task was gonna get taken care of because I had already planned an exact month and time that I was gonna do it. Number 7, this also feels like kind of a self-explanatory tip, but it is to stick to your budget. In addition to making that very intensive wedding planning to-do list, I also made a very detailed and specific budget. Even if it was just budgeting $10 here for something or $20 here for something, truly every penny adds up. And I feel like where people blow up their wedding budget the most or spend way more than they wanted to on their wedding, honestly, is when it comes to the little things. Inevitably, there are gonna be expenses that come up right at the end. You have to have money set aside and budgeted for that. But also another huge piece of people not sticking to their budget is thinking that, oh, I can do a couple $100 extra here, or I can do a couple extra $100 here, but they're never taking that money out of a different category, and thus it's just really adding up. What we always think about is the big ticket items when we cut to our wedding day, but there are so many tiny little expenses that are so easy to forget, and that is truly what adds up and blows up your budget. The biggest tip for you guys truly is to make a budget, be detail oriented about it, do your research, find exactly every little expense that you're going to encounter and try as best you can to plan for it, and just have the discipline to tell yourself no and tell yourself that, hey, I can't have this, or no, that if you really care about having something. I talked about photography. I went over my photography budget on my initial wedding budget, but I took money out of my wedding dress budget, out of my venue budget, out of my catering budget in order for that photography. It's all about discipline. It's all about sticking to the number that you set for yourself. And truly guys, your wedding day is something that you will love and cherish your whole life. So hear me when I say that. It has truly been the most meaningful day of my entire life. But I also am so incredibly thankful looking back on it now that I did not spend $1 over what I planned. Because at the end of the day, as kind of like sad as that sounds, it really is just one day, and it is not worth losing savings that you have been putting towards a home or a car or a future for yourself or going into a ton of debt. You truly can have the wedding of your dreams in your means. It just takes discipline, and it takes doing your research, and it takes making some sacrifices by knowing what's the most important to you. And I know that that's honestly probably the most intimidating and daunting part of wedding planning. I know that if anything stressed me out the most during wedding planning, it was the money. Like, it was the finances of it all, but it really does all work out in the end. And you will be so thankful that even if you have a ton of money, slay if you do, you'll be so thankful that you kept your wedding at a reasonable price range. My next tip for you guys is to consistently keep planning, but take it one day at a time. It's so easy to get overwhelmed with the million-and-one tasks that are required for planning a huge wedding or just a wedding in general. Truly, you do have to remember and like center yourself to take everything just one day at a time. But at the same time, I think something that really greatly impacted that my wedding planning stayed very on track, or I was kind of just always a little bit ahead of the game, is the fact that I worked on that wedding at least a little thing here or there almost every single day. Even if it's just working on Pinterest and looking for inspiration for something for 10 minutes while you have some time sitting in a parking lot, or whether or not it's taking 4 hours and spending like half your day planning your wedding. Every little thing really will add up. And every time that you can even just spend some time researching or looking into inspiration, it'll make it easier when it comes time to make decisions, the more time you've actually spent thinking and looking at inspiration. And truly, planning a wedding is not something you can do in a week or a day, but the wedding planning process is truly supposed to be fun and enjoyable, and the way that it can be fun and enjoyable is if you space it out. Number 9 also feels very appropriate for my very type A self, but my tip for you guys is to over plan. Honestly, there were some things that I did, especially like right towards the end of my wedding planning process, when I was actually like creating things for the wedding day to help us like set up and organize, that were probably a little bit overkill. When it came to that wedding morning, I know I've already mentioned it, I had the most stress-free, incredible wedding morning because I was so thoroughly planned out. Quite honestly, I had day of coordinators and I like did their job for them. I honestly did not even really need them because of how many individualized schedules I have made, how many like packets and packets and packets of paper that like detail listed out how I wanted every table set up, every area set up with pictures. But guys, the more that you over plan, it is never gonna be a waste of time. It is never gonna make the day worse. It's only gonna make the day smoother. It was so nice to have all of these things just printed out in this wedding binder. I had like multiple copies passed out to different people because I got asked no questions on my wedding day. Everything went completely seamlessly because everything exactly what I wanted the day to look like was in those binders. There literally was no questions to even ask me during the wedding morning because you could find the answer in that book somewhere. And also taking the time to explain like a couple weeks prior my mom how exactly I wanted everything done, or my maid of honor how I wanted different things done. Just taking the time to have those conversations and answer questions ahead of the time when it comes to the wedding day also will make the actual morning of the actual day so much more enjoyable. Honestly, like everyone in my life, my bridal party, the groomsmen, my family, my husband's family, like everyone was chilling when it came to wedding day because we had already had these conversations and I had already kind of over planned for the wedding day before we ever got there. Truly, the most important thing, in my opinion, when it comes to wedding planning is protecting your peace at all costs. You want to protect your season of engagement, making sure that that is still a season that is so special for you and your significant other, that truly at the core of it, you're building a foundation for your marriage. That's where the tips like taking it one day at a time and being thought out and having this to-do list and delegating times to do things really does help kind of preserve your stress levels in those ways. But then also a huge thing that I think is so important is preserving your peace on your wedding day as much as possible. So even if it seems silly and people giggled at my wedding planning binder that I brought on the wedding day, that is what allowed me to have such a beautiful, seamless, stress-free wedding morning where literally the only thing I was thinking about was how excited I was to marry the love of my life. And truly, that is the goal of good wedding planning. And then 10, the last one that I wanted to leave with you guys, kind of seems negative, but truly it's not. It's to know that inevitably something is gonna go wrong. Now this is really hard for us type A planner gals. We think that we can prevent every little thing that could possibly go wrong, or that we can anticipate every little thing that could possibly go wrong. And the thing is, with a wedding day, there are so many moving pieces, there are so many things happening, there are so many people who are a part of this game. And so inevitably, things are gonna go wrong and something is gonna go wrong. And that that is okay. I made a whole TikTok video talking about all the things that went wrong on my wedding day and like why they went wrong, and it was kind of like for some tips to maybe help avoid those for other people who were getting married. But honestly, it was just a lighthearted video laughing about all the ways and all the things that ended up going wrong on our wedding day. Honestly, I feel incredibly blessed that our wedding day went as seamlessly as it did, but there is gonna be something that goes wrong, and if you can make peace with that before your wedding day, I can't even explain to you how much more you are going to enjoy your wedding day when you're not getting so bent out of shape about the little things. I do not want to see any of you guys shed any tears on your wedding day. No tears on your wedding day. So honestly, sometimes wrapping your head around this idea that things are not gonna be perfect, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna be an amazing, beautiful, meaningful day, I think is just one of the best things you can do for yourself. Anyways, guys, those are my top 10 wedding planning tips I have for you guys. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and leave in the comment section down below if you want to see any other wedding planning related videos. Like I said, I made a ridiculous amount of content, hundreds of videos on my TikTok page. I would definitely recommend going and checking those out. But I'm also totally open to even remaking some of that content here on YouTube if you guys are interested, so just let me know. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to my channel to just follow along on my little newlywed life. But I love you guys. That's pretty much all I have for this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.